Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into a massive update for the popular idle mobile game, The Tower. We're talking about V26, and it's pretty transformative.
Absolutely. For this deep dive, we've pulled from the developer's official announcement post over on Reddit, which, lays out all the nitty-gritty details.
Right.
And crucially, we've also waded through the very lively community discussion thread reacting to all these changes.
Or lots of opinions there. So our mission today is really to cut through all that noise. We're going to pull out the most important nuggets, explain the key new features in V26, and really explore how the community is feeling about them.
Basically give you the quick version so you're up to speed.
Exactly. Understand what's new, what actually impacts your game, and what everyone's buzzing about right now in the Tower universe.
All right, so let's kick off with probably the headline feature of this whole update. Guilds are here.
Guilds. Finally. This adds a really significant social layer to a game that's, historically been pretty solitary, right? Outside of tournaments.
Totally. The core idea is pretty simple. Players can create or join groups, up to 30 people per guild.
30, okay.
And the developer was quite specific about their design goal here. They said explicitly they wanted to keep it relatively light, like not adding a bunch of mandatory chores.
That's good to hear. Avoid the second job feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they also didn't want to create this environment where only elite super guilds could succeed.
Yeah.
They're seeing this very much as a foundation, something to build on later.
Okay, so it's meant to be low pressure, kind of like a starting point. How do you actually do stuff in the guild? How do you contribute, and what do you get out of it?
Well, the main interaction, besides just chatting within the guild, is earning guild tokens. And you get these just by claiming your weekly challenge boxes.
Oh, the things most active players are doing anyway.
Precisely. So by doing that, you contribute, and your guild collectively works towards earning up to 4 guild chests each week.
Guild chests. Okay, intriguing. What's inside those?
So from these guild chests, you get a brand new resource. It's called Guardian Bits.
Guardian Bits.
Yeah. And these bits are used to upgrade a completely new support system for your tower. They're calling it the Guardian.
The Guardian. Yeah.
Think of it like a persistent companion, or maybe device that you can equip with different chips to get unique buffs or effects during your runs.
So the Guardian isn't just like a cosmetic pet. It actually adds power or utility to your runs.
Correct. It's a new progression system.
And the guild tokens you mentioned from the challenges, are those for the Guardian too?
No, actually. The tokens are mainly for, flexing your profile, basically.
Yeah.
You can spend guild tokens on new cosmetics, personalization items for your profile, even cosmetic skins for your tower itself.
Okay.
One crucial detail: any guild tokens you haven't spent, they get automatically cashed out for coins at the end of each 8-week guild season. So no hoarding them forever.
Right, use them or lose them, basically. Okay, so we've got this new social system, a new resource Guardian Bits for a new gameplay boost system, the Guardian, and a new currency for cosmetics, all tied together through this guild activity. What's the vibe from the community on this? How are people feeling about guilds?
It's definitely a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Which, isn't super surprising for such a big feature in a game that's been mostly single player for so long.
Makes sense.
There's definitely real excitement from some players. They're happy to have an in-game way to connect, share strategies, maybe just chat with other people who are really into the game.
Yeah, I can see that. And just earning free rewards for doing the weekly challenges you were already doing, that feels like a pretty easy win.
For sure. But then you have the concerns.
Okay, what are the downsides people are saying?
Usually falls into a few buckets. Some worry about that potential for subtle pressure. Pressure to perform or contribute tokens, even if the design says it's light.
The social pressure aspect.
Yeah. Others point out that finding a good guild, one that actually fits your playstyle, might still mean you have to go outside the game, use Discord or whatever, which kind of defeats the purpose for some.
Right, if the goal was in-game community.
Exactly. And then there's the more philosophical question some players are raising. Does adding guilds fundamentally change the nature of the game? For many, it was this relaxing solo thing.
Yeah, does it break that core appeal?
And there's also a feeling from a few players that maybe, despite the design goals, the initial structure or rewards might still kind of lean towards benefiting the top-tier players more.
Interesting. That tension between adding community features and preserving that core solo feel. It's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. Okay, let's shift gears. Away from the social stuff, the update also brought some pretty significant changes to core game systems and existing features.
Right. Yeah, one big foundational change is the cloud save migration.
Cloud saves. Always a hot topic in the community, often because of, well, bugs.
Precisely. So the developer moved the whole back-end system for cloud saves to a new infrastructure. The specific goal was tackling those persistent, annoying bugs players have reported for ages, aiming for a much more stable, reliable save system.
Okay, fixing the save bugs sounds great. Pure positive, right? Is there a catch?
There is one major implication that has drawn significant negative feedback.
Oh.
You now need to be connected to the internet just to start the app.
Right.
Once the game is running, you can disconnect, do your runs offline like before, but just launching the game. Requires internet now.
Wait, online just to launch it? Oof. That feels like a step back for anyone who plays on a commute or travels or just has spotty internet sometimes.
That's exactly the criticism. This requirement is maybe the most widely disliked change in the whole update, maybe second only to the relic thing we'll get to later.
Right.
Players are really vocal about how this impacts just casually playing throughout the day. Kind of negates the convenience of an idle game you can just pop open anytime, anywhere. So while they appreciate the goal of fixing bugs, this specific requirement is a major, major pain point for a lot of folks.
Yeah, I can totally see why that would frustrate people. Okay, moving on from that controversial system change, what else got tweaked in the game systems?
Your player profile got a little upgrade. It now shows your guild icon and name, which makes sense.
Integrates the new guild feature visually.
Right. And using those new guild tokens we talked about, you can unlock personalized banners to show off on your main menu and profile screen, or customization.
Nice. More ways to personalize your look. How about a core late game stat, like enemy level skips? Any changes there? ELS?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is one of the changes getting almost universal praise. A real quality of life win. Both enemy attack level skip and enemy health level skip labs. They're now completely non-random.
Non-random, so like deterministic.
Exactly. The developer clarified. A 50% chance now means it skips exactly every other wave. No more hoping the RNG blesses you.
Whoa. Okay, that's huge. Predictability in a system that was pure chance before. That fundamentally changes how you invest in those labs. They become a reliable part of your strategy, not just a gamble.
Precisely. Players are seeing this as a fantastic improvement. Makes those big lab investments feel much more rewarding because the outcome is consistent.
That's great. Now, for players drowning in coins, looking for somewhere to dump them, did the vault get any love? Any expansion?
It did indeed. Both of the existing vault trees got new enhancements. Specifically, the power tree now allows certain upgrades, certain nodes, to be purchased and upgraded a second, or even a third time.
Upgrading nodes multiple times. Wow, that sounds like a massive new coin sink, aimed squarely at the very, very late game players.
It absolutely is. And these higher upgrade tiers, they unlock sequentially. You need like 15 tier 1 power tree nodes unlocked to even see the tier 2 upgrades. Then you need 25 tier 1 and 15 tier 2 nodes to unlock tier 3.
Okay, serious requirements.
And the developer did mention there are one-time real money purchases tied to unlocking these new tiers as well. So that might gate access even further for some.
Gotcha. So more long-term progression fueled by coins and potentially real money. Okay, let's pivot to another huge system, modules. Always a big area for player investment and optimization. What changed there?
The module system got a pretty substantial overhaul in V26. First off, they announced 4 new modules are coming. They're going to be released gradually over time, though, not all at once.
Just adding more modules to the pool could make finding the specific one you need even harder, couldn't it? Did they address that?
They did. And this is where another major quality of life improvement comes in. They've introduced a new banner system for module pulls.
Banner system, like in gacha games.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
There are now 2 banners, standard and featured. The feature banner will spotlight one specific module at a time, and crucially, it offers a much higher drop chance for that module when you pull using gems.
Targeted pulls, that's a game changer for build optimization.
Huge deal. These featured modules will rotate every 2 weeks, and then eventually they'll get added to the regular standard banner pool later on.
Okay, wow. What else for modules?
They also improved how duplicate modules are handled, especially once you get them to the max level, Ancestral, which is 5 stars. There's now a substantially lower chance to pull a module you already have at Ancestral.
That's good. Reduces frustration.
And if you do happen to pull a duplicate of an Ancestral module effect, maybe on a different module type, you can now shatter other modules that have the same effect to gain shards specifically for leveling up that maxed out effect further.
Oh, interesting. So even duplicates aren't totally wasted once you've maxed an effect somewhere. Any other smaller module tweaks?
Yep, there's several nice ones. It's now guaranteed you'll get at least one rare module every 10 pulls you do with gems. No more awful streaks of just commons.
Finally.
The module history feature now shows up to 150 of your previous pulls, which is helpful for tracking, your luck or whatever.
Yeah, or proving your bad luck to your guildmates.
Yeah, maybe. The module level cap has been extended significantly, up to level 300 now. But this requires the module to be ancestral rarity first.
300, wow.
And new substats unlock way up there at levels 201 and 241. Also, they slightly reduced the shard cost for leveling modules from 161 to 200.
Okay, that's a pretty comprehensive set of changes for modules. How's the community taking all this?
Generally, really positively. The guaranteed rare is great, but the featured banner for targeted pulls, that's the star. Players who felt stuck needing that one specific module are super excited about this.
It makes sense.
There's maybe some discussion about whether 2 weeks is really long enough to save up enough gems to guarantee you get the featured module you want, needing to hoard gems. But overall, yeah, these are seen as big improvements to a core system.
Okay, solid system improvements then, mostly. But yeah, that online requirement still looms large as a negative. Let's shift focus again, this time to the ultimate weapons. Several of those got some significant reworks and buffs, right?
Yeah, quite a few updates here. Let's start with Poison Swamp, PS. This one got a pretty fundamental rework. It's moving away from being a chance percent system where it applied based on probability per hit.
Which was always kind of unreliable.
Exactly. Now it's a cooldown system. Much more predictable.
Okay, switching from chance to cooldown totally changes how you'd use it, how you'd build around it. What other buffs did PS get?
Well, beyond just the cooldown structure, PS got buffs to its face damage and also its base radius. And crucially, enemies that are actually in the swamp are now slowed by 25%.
Ooh, a built-in slow. That's potentially very useful.
Definitely. And its associated labs, Stun Duration, Stun Chant, and Swamp Radius. They were also buffed and got 5 new research levels each.
So pretty thorough overhaul. How are players reacting to the new PS?
The community seems pretty interested, actively debating its potential viability now. The cooldown makes it reliable in a way it just wasn't before. And that slow opens up potential synergies, right? Maybe with Harmony Conductor or other effects.
Yeah, it could interact in interesting ways.
It's definitely in a wait-and-see phase. People need to test it out properly. But there's cautious optimism that this rework could actually make PS a much stronger, more viable UW choice now.
Okay, interesting. What about Inner Landmine, ILM? That's another UW players are always hoping gets a boost.
ILM saw some pretty substantial buffs, mainly to its damage stats, just straight up more damage.
Nice.
There's also a brand new lab specifically for ILM plus Die, the upgraded version. It's called Chrono Jump. And what it does is add to your ILM charge whenever an enemy gets hit by one of your mines.
Ah, potentially letting it fire more often if it's hitting things.
Could be. And on top of that, they fixed a bug, ensuring the Space Displacer module now works correctly with ILM, even if you haven't researched the ILM rotation lab.
Okay, so more damage, a new lab for frequency, and a bug fix. Sounds like good news for ILM fans.
Definitely. Players seem positive about these changes, hoping they kind of elevate ILM into a more competitive spot, especially in the late game.
Gotcha. And Spotlight, SL, and Chronofield, CF, they got some lab love too, didn't they?
Yeah, mostly focused on helping players reach those key milestones for optimization. Spotlight gained 15 additional levels for its Angle Lab.
15.
Yeah, and the big payoff here is that if you max out both the SL Angle Workshop stat and this newly extended Angle Lab, you can now ban the SL Angle module effect for free.
Oh, that's huge. Freeing up a module slot by maxing stats.
Exactly. And it's the same idea for Chronofield. Maxing out both the CF Duration Workshop stat and its Duration Lab now lets you ban the CF Duration module effect for free as well.
Wow. Those free module bans are incredibly valuable for endgame players trying to squeeze out every bit of optimization. Huge incentive to push those labs.
Absolutely. It's a big deal for the top end.
Okay, and Deathwave, DW, a cornerstone for so many coin farming builds. Any changes there?
Deathway's cooldown lab gained 5 additional levels.
5 more levels on DW cooldown.
Yep. And the immediate player reaction, predictably, focused on what this means for achieving perma-DW setups.
Making permanent Deathwave easier to reach. That's massive for the player economy, for progression speed.
Totally. Getting permanent DW is such a major milestone for coin generation and just late-game power scaling. These extra lab levels are seen as a really significant step towards making that goal more accessible, or maybe less reliant on getting perfect modular rolls for cooldown.
Big impact there. And finally, the UW Plus variants. Anything for them.
Yeah, pretty simple. All the existing Ultimate Weapon Plus labs just receive additional levels as well. So more depth, more progression potential for players who've managed to acquire those upgraded UW versions.
Okay. So lots of tuning, new options, and higher ceilings for Ultimate Weapons across the board. Now, we absolutely have to talk about the topic that just dominated the community discussion, caused the most controversy by far. The event boost and the introduction of these premium relics.
Yeah, this was without question the most contentious part of the entire V26 update. The change was specifically to the paid event boost.
Right, the thing you could buy during events.
Before, that boost mostly gave you cosmetic stuff, or maybe multipliers on the event currency you earned. In V26, buying the event boost now grants 2 additional relics, one epic and one rare, on top of the 2 relics that everyone earned just by playing the event and getting medals.
Whoa, wait. So for the first time, players who pay for the event boost get actual stat-affecting rewards relics that free players cannot get during that specific event.
That's the change.
Okay. What was the immediate reaction? I can guess it wasn't quiet.
Not quiet is an understatement. It triggered a really significant and overwhelmingly negative backlash across the community. You saw terms like pay to win, cash grab, blatant departure from how they used to monetize.
Strong words.
Very. Players felt kind of betrayed, honestly, viewing it as introducing serious FOMO, fear of missing out by locking actual power, actual stats, and completionism behind a recurring paywall. People quickly calculated it would cost roughly $30 a month if you bought it for every single event. Big concerns raised about completionists suddenly being unable to collect everything without paying, free-to-play players worrying they'd fall further behind statistically, and the impact on tournament fairness, right? Where every little stat point can matter.
Yeah, tournaments are a big part of the end game.
Okay, that's a fierce reaction. Did the developer address this? Did they clarify or respond?
They did. Recognizing just how intense the feedback was, the developer jumped into the comments and also updated the main announcement post. They clarify that these premium relics, as they're called, will eventually be rotated in. They'll become purchasable with regular event currency or maybe guild tokens at a later date.
Okay, so not permanently exclusive then. More like paid early access to stat boosting items.
Yeah.
How did that clarification land? Did it calm things down?
It definitely eased the absolute worst fears, the idea of FTP players never being able to get these items. So yes, it helped a bit, but the concerns remain really significant. The criticism kind of shifted focus, but didn't really go away.
How so? Players still fundamentally see it as offering a power advantage for payment, even if it's technically temporary. They're worried about how long that rotation will actually take. Like how many events worth of paid relics will pile up before the first ones become available for free.
Yeah, the backlog could get pretty big.
Exactly. And how hard will it be to catch up then? But beyond the logistics, the core issue for many players wasn't just the temporary exclusion. It was the principle of it. Linking stat-affecting items, power, directly to a recurring payment model. They feel that undermines the trust that was built up. The game's previous monetization was largely seen as speeding up progression, maybe offering cosmetics, not providing exclusive power, or blocking 100% collection for free players.
Right, it feels like it crossed a line for players who really valued that previous approach. Okay, that's a lot to digest on the relic front. Moving past the big controversial points now, what other smaller changes or bug fixes got rolled into V26?
Quite a few smaller, but still welcome, adjustments. The wall rebuild, it now has a knockback effect. Pushes enemies away from the tower when it rebuilds, which could be helpful.
Oh, interesting. Adds a bit of utility.
The Wave Info tab, where you see stats during a run, it gained a useful new piece of info, a counter for the count of active enemies on screen.
Ah, handy for tracking density. Any brand new labs outside of the UW ones we already talked about?
Yes, one new one. A battle condition reduction lab. It's way up there. Requires Tier 18 Workshop 1000 to unlock.
T18W1000. Okay, that's endgame territory. What does it do?
This lab lets you reduce the effective level of active battle conditions by a percentage. So if you have like level 5 reduced knockback, maybe this makes it act like level 4 or 3. Though, importantly, it doesn't affect all BCs. It doesn't work on more bosses or the ones that mess with UW durations.
Gotcha. Who does that benefit most?
Well, some community members noted this seems primarily aimed at the very, very top players. The ones pushing incredibly deep waves where managing multiple really high-level BCs is a major challenge.
Makes sense. A niche, high-end lab.
Also related to battle conditions, specifically for tournaments, a new permanent BC was added just to the Legends League. It's called Enemy Level Skip Reduction.
Enemy level skip reduction. So it nerfs ELS builds in the top league.
Seems like it. Looks like a direct countermeasure to stop the absolute top players from relying too heavily on extreme ELS builds dominating the most competitive tier. Shakes up the meta a bit up there.
Interesting move. Okay, and finally, bug fixes. Always good to see those.
Yep, a good list. Numerous translation and localization issues were fixed across different languages. The developers specifically addressed a bug where ending a run while offline could sometimes lock up your tower state.
Glad that's fixed.
The Space Displacer module is confirmed working correctly now, even without the ILM rotation lab. Poison Swamp's rend effect is also applying correctly every time damage is taken now.
Good stuff.
The developer mentioned there were many other unlisted fixes too, and they planned for hot fixes post-launch for anything that cropped up. Player comments did still highlight some ongoing crashing issues for some people and a specific card slot bug. The developer generally acknowledged stability concerns, but seemed to indicate broad improvements rather than guaranteeing fixes for every single known issue right away.
Right. Stability is an ongoing process. Okay, well that pretty much wraps up our deep dive into the major features, the system changes, the UW reworks, and of course, the community reaction to the Towers V26 update.
It was definitely a packed one, wasn't it? Touched almost every single part of the game. We saw some genuinely exciting new additions like guilds.
Yeah, and those quality of life fixes players have wanted forever, like the non-random ELS and the targeted module pulls, those are huge wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus significant shifts in how viable some ultimate weapons might be now. And yes, some truly controversial decisions like that online startup requirement.
And especially the premium relics. Can't forget that one.
Definitely not.
It really feels like an update that pushes the game forward in a lot of exciting ways, but it also introduced some real friction points, didn't it? It sparked some intense debate within the player base.
For sure. And seeing just how strong the feelings were, particularly around the monetization changes with the relics and that online requirement, it really raises a fundamental question for the future, I think.
Like is.
Well, how will this kind of player feedback shape the game's direction from here on out? You know, the developers are constantly navigating this really complex task, adding new content, finding ways to generate revenue, but also trying to maintain that accessibility and fairness that, frankly, many players felt was a core strength of the tower before.
It's a delicate balancing act.
Exactly. And V26 really shows just how sensitive that balance is for this community. So thinking about everything we've covered, what aspects of this massive V26 deep dive stand out the most to you?